Before we get started, I want to thank our community partner, Epilepsy Foundation of America, and sponsors Neurelis and SK Life Science. Thank you so much for believing in this podcast, for making conversations like this possible, and giving us a space to talk about our epilepsy what the F moments. Okay, here we go. Hey guys, welcome to What the F. So if you have never heard of the term medication toxicity, you are not alone. I had never heard of it actually until I met today's guest about a year ago. So what we're going to do is just talk about, first of all, what medication toxicity is, what that experience can be like, and most importantly, how to avoid it, because it's something that apparently is like not that hard to happen and can be really devastating. I am so excited about our guest today. Her name is Mare Davis. She is an actor, a singer, a certified child advocate, also getting her master's in child advocacy. And just in case that wasn't enough, she also owns Power Princess Party, which I cannot wait to dive into. Mare, thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, Candace, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to finally be talking.
Oh, I know. It's like we met like a year ago and I was like,
I
I
know.
can't wait to have you on the podcast. And now
Mhm.
here you are. And I'm so excited. Even though like I hate that you're the person to talk about this just because I hate that you went through it. But I so appreciate how open you are about your journey with medication toxicity because, like I said, like until you and I talked, I'd never heard of it.
Yeah.
So like if you had like in like layman's terms, like, epilepsy people terms, like what is medication toxicity?
Right. Okay. So, it's basically when your levels are really high. When you go
Like
get your
medication levels or
absolutely,
something?
yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay.
So, when you get your medication, your levels, and they're like, "Oh, your levels are therapeutic."
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you go and get blood work.
Yeah.
And by the way, if your neurologist is not doing this, you should be doing this. You should be getting blood work
Yes,
regularly to check your
exactly.
medication levels. Yes. Okay.
Exactly. And so when you start out, I mean, I was 11 when I had my diagnosis, and that's like a whole different day, right? But
Yeah. Yeah.
Ugh. And then but I remember that was like very a normal thing to get your levels done. I think it was like once a month we had them, or even more than that. But
Okay.
then as you get older, or as you become sort of controlled, if
Sure.
you are fortunate enough to be controlled with on medication.
Okay, so now
Okay.
you're an adult and you're not, getting your levels checked because were
Right.
you having seizures or were you not having seizures? Like where were you at that point?
I So this is, I would say, around the pandemic. I was kind of I would take my medicine and I never really felt good.
Mm.
Basically throughout my entire adult life, I would take my medicine and I never really felt well, but I thought
Like
that's just
immediately after or
yeah,
like okay. And what
yeah,
was that? What was it like? Was it nausea? Was it like what?
dizziness and
Mhm.
tired, and just, I mean, that's normal, right? The tired.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's always going to be there, but I think that it was more so like I just felt off and a little dizzy, and I thought, "Okay, well, this is just how I feel all the time, like, this is
Yeah.
normal."
Yeah.
And then when we got, like, pretty deep into the pandemic, um, I I would take my medicine, and then I would start seeing really, really blurry, and just it got really bad.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
I went to the doctor, and this was back, I would say, like when the city is starting to open up, when the world's opening up a little bit, but not,
Sure.
And I went to the doctor, and my neurologist, actually, this was virtual because I wasn't in
Yeah, we
person.
weren't there yet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And she said, it's because these manufacturers are changing, your levels might be a little high, but you could be having seizures because of the masks that we're wearing,
Okay.
and I was running with the masks. That's when everyone was still working out with the masks.
Sure.
And so we went in, did tests, and it turned out that my levels were just high.
So what did your doctor mean when she said manufacturers changing?
So yeah, so I didn't know what she meant. And she said I went in there and we did an EEG. I wasn't having any more seizures than usual. Like it showed that I was still having seizures, but they were
Okay.
suppressed. That's what she said.
Okay.
They're suppressed.
What's a suppressed seizure? I'm so ignorant. I'm like, what
I
is
didn't
that?
know either, but
Okay.
that's what some doctors say. It means that you're having like your medicine's controlling them, like they're trying to come up.
Sure. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I have heard of this from other people's experiences.
Oh, I
Yes.
didn't know. I was like, "Oh, I'm suppressed." So
Right.
maybe that's why I know that I am suppressed, like, with a lot of different things, but, um, okay, so anyway, during the pandemic, a
Mhm.
lot of people were taking, especially in our big cities, more anticonvulsants than usual, apparently, because they're prescribed for other things like depression and apparently they were the mood stabilizers had increased by several people who were, I mean, several
That makes
doctors were
sense.
prescribing them. Right.
Yeah.
People were,
Give During the pandemic, everyone's
yeah,
feeling something. Yeah.
well, exactly. So a lot more, several more manufacturers started making apparently the medication. This is what I
Uh,
was told.
yeah.
And in the big pharmacies, like I remember I would go to get my medicine and sometimes they would be like, "Oh, we don't have it." And I was like, "What?" But I need it.
Yeah.
"Oh, no, we don't have it. Sorry. Like nothing I can do."
What?
Yeah. So they would give me either like the children's chewable version,
Okay.
and that is something that made me feel toxic.
Okay.
Um, so that was the first time. That was like in 2021 or something. That was the first time I felt weird. So
Yeah.
fortunately, I knew that feeling, and it's basically like you're drunk. Um,
Oh,
it's like, yeah, you're
I know
drunk.
that feeling. Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause
Mm,
I've had we've
so
all tried medications that don't work for us,
right.
and, like, I know exactly what you're talking
Mm,
about.
it's
Yeah.
so scary, isn't it?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it's like, and the spins that
Yeah.
have
Yeah,
you
I
have
would,
you
like,
gone
have to
there?
literally take it, like, there's one medication I'd have to take it and then just, like, run to bed, just so I could fall asleep and not feel
It's
what was
so
coming.
scary. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. So let's jump to September 25th, 2022. I am doing my part going to the epilepsy walk.
Mm.
What are the odds?
I mean, the irony of the story is so brutal.
I take my medicine and feeling fine, but not great. Just feeling like not good, like how I said,
Yeah.
how I always just like whatever. Then I
You're just
get in
drunk going to the epilepsy walk, no big deal. The fuck? Like
little tipsy. And then I get in the car. I took an Uber and no, I didn't. No, we didn't take an Uber. I took a
okay.
yellow taxi. Yes, I took a yellow taxi and
So old
I'm
school. Love it.
old school. Yeah. Trying to like do my part
Yeah.
business. Okay. So I am almost there and I start seeing blurry.
Mhm.
And I had been trying to get an appointment with my doctor for a bit,
Mhm.
but I couldn't get in. They were only letting me see the nurse practitioner. It was because
Yeah.
I was seizure controlled at the time.
Sure. Right, so you're look I mean, I hate saying this, but in their eyes, low priority.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very low priority at the time. Um, yeah. And so anyway, I knew that she was going to be at the walk and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is great. I haven't seen her in a bit."
Oh. Oh my
But I was going to turn
god.
around because it got bad.
Yeah.
So, I know this sounds just like so if I could go back in time, but in a way, I don't know. All right, so then it was okay. I got out. There were just like little blurry, like a little blurry vision. I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
great. Now I can explain it to her exactly what happened. That it happened today because
Yeah.
she said, keep a calendar, and I was like, great. I just had a few seizures. That's what I thought it was because
Yeah.
I had had my medication levels taken not that long before this,
Okay.
and they were therapeutic.
Sure. That level. Yeah.
Yeah. So then the cab driver drives away, and
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden, as soon as he drives away, it is so I had never felt like this before.
Mm.
Like, I can't even describe. I mean, completely blurred vision. Um, Things were kind of coming towards me, like there were
Oh,
trees. Yeah, they were
yeah.
just like I was kind of hallucinating, and I was like, "Wait," but I couldn't talk. Like I was
Oh
like,
God.
so I saw and I was walking towards the piers. Do you know where that is in New York? It's like the water.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, you know what a pier. I just meant like where.
No. Yeah, I do. In New
Yeah,
York City.
okay,
Yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so I saw a police officer. A police officer. I know that because they had the hat. They weren't just like a they were a police officer in a car, and I went and I knocked.
Uh huh.
I remember this so like yeah, spot on. And I knocked, and it was a woman, and she um shook her head like off duty or something, and I went, "Please." But I think, I appeared sort of just like, she's probably like, "Who is this insane person
Right.
I'm
I
not
mean, that
dealing with?"
happens a lot where people who are having seizures or
Mhm.
seizures side effects or something are mistaken
Yeah.
for just being a nuisance.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awful.
So anyway, there are cars coming this way and they're just so fast. And I'm
Hmm.
thinking, okay, well, I can't go back there. Like I can't get a cab. There's no way. I don't know what to do. So I guess I'll just walk. It was so strange because like we said, like cognitive ability, it was completely gone. I couldn't think, I
Yeah,
couldn't talk.
totally.
And the cars were coming towards me and I thought, okay, well, this was like a good life.
Oh my God, you poor
My gosh,
thing.
she had a good ride.
Yeah.
And I'm walking, and then all of a sudden I lose. Do you know that feeling when you're sort of seizure and you lose the coordination, like in your
Hmm.
body? Hate it.
Yeah.
So I start losing a little coordination, and all of a sudden I start singing, which is really weird. But
No
I was like,
way.
and singing and crying at the same time. But I was trying to talk, but I guess it's like this musical theater person, of course, just sings.
Oh,
And people are like running away from me. And I'm like, no, I need help.
right.
Um, so
Oh.
I finally find a place to sit. There's no place to sit. Like, I don't know what's going on, but there was no place to sit. And it appeared to be a bench, but it was
Mhm.
more of a flower pot, but it
Mhm.
appeared to be a bench. So I went to sit down and
Wait, you went to sit down on a flower pot?
yes, but it looked like a bench at the time.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, just like in your state, you mean it looked like a bench
Yes,
or
yes, yes, yes,
okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sure.
yes. Yeah.
So the swaying singing lady goes and sits on a
Yeah,
flower
yeah,
pot.
yeah, yeah. I was like, "Oh,
Totally normal. Yep.
yeah." And my legs completely gave out and I landed on my knees and I like into the sidewalk apparently.
Like face planted.
Mhm.
Oh,
And this tooth became this one came through here, I believe. My whole lip split open, tore off my jaw, broke these bones. Um yeah, so these are all new. Well,
if you're
almost
not
2
watching
years
on
old
YouTube,
now.
Mara's pointing to her teeth, which are
Oh,
new and
oh,
gorgeous, by the
oh,
way.
no, they're not. Oh, so sweet.
They are. Yeah.
Um,
And
yeah,
if you're
I
gonna get new teeth, you might as well get some good ones, and you did that.
have
So,
thank you.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
But lost this like the whole lip. I mean, it was just and so I remember touching my face and just being like, where is my face? Because all I could feel were like guts. Like I know that sounds pretty gross, but and just the
But hey,
pain
oh,
was so excruciating. And it's funny because I hadn't thought about this one bit of like pain right here. I
mm-hmm.
think about the jaw and like my
Yeah. Well,
gum
if
and
you
all the nerve
broke it, I
damage.
mean, Jesus, Mary and
It's
Joseph.
yeah, it's awful, and I
Yeah.
think about that because I still have that pain, but I
Mm.
hadn't thought about the tooth being stuck in there. So we go to the ER, no, you know what? I wanna say one more thing.
Yeah.
People were running away from me.
Oh.
Fortunately, a man came out with napkins and, from a restaurant, and then
Mhm.
a wonderful, man came over, and he had a little white dog, and he stopped and sort of, like, shooed the people who were just staring and not doing anything, and he was like, "Nothing to see here."
Oh.
He starts looking for my teeth because it appeared that I didn't have any teeth, but or, like, there was so much blood, but actually the
Yeek.
teeth some of the teeth were just, like, stuck, I
Oh,
guess.
geez. Wow.
The one was stuck in the gum, yeah. So he just, like, held me.
Oh.
I know, and I got blood on his little white dog,
Oh.
and I don't my mother is still under the impression, because 'cause we've not found him yet, that it was a guardian angel protecting
100%.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could have been, I don't
Totally.
know.
Absolutely.
And
Why not? You know?
seriously, yeah. And, and she knows I'm a big animal person, so he sent this little, dog to
Yes.
yeah,
He had to come rescue you with
I
a little white
know,
dog.
and there
So
were
sweet.
I know, so sweet,
How
and they were
close were you to the epilepsy walk though? Like,
I feel like I was closer than
okay. Like
but
you
of
like there
course
weren't like you weren't like at a space where like people from the epilepsy walk could see this happen?
no, but
Okay.
there were people on the way there that were
Sure.
saying, like, "Oh, this person's on the way to the epilepsy walk and she had a seizure." So I just figured I had a seizure.
Yeah. Total well, that makes sense. Like I don't know why
Like
you'd think anything else. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, but I knew something was off, I don't know. And there were some runners that they must have called 911 and they stood near me as well. So anyway, I get to the ER
Mhm.
and they were just like saying, "Oh, typical OD, typical overdose." And I couldn't talk and I was like
Oh my god.
and just so like, like
That's so
dismissive.
brutal.
It really was.
For many reasons. One, like saying typical overdose in a let's say it was an overdose. That's like really, really insensitive. And second of
Oh,
all, like it's not always an overdose either, you know?
no.
Like so how did you figure out though that it was
Oh,
medication
yeah.
toxicity and not a seizure? Because that's where I'm like, I think I would
Yeah,
have
yeah,
just written
yeah.
it off as a seizure and moved
Of course,
on.
of course, of course. So my sister got there and she fortunately, thank God, advocated for me and was my voice until
Mhm.
I was able to kind of speak. They did all the fixed my injuries and well, they didn't fix all my injuries. They're still there. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
Who
Yeah,
am
they
I
did
to
what they could in the ER.
they did
Yeah.
what they could in the
Mhm.
yeah. But I just thought, I was aware that whole time, and I feel like I had seizures, but also I must have taken too much medicine because I know that feeling that I
Mm.
had before of my levels being high.
Okay.
So we
Okay.
went and we went to the after I had healed and I had like so many stitches in my mouth, it was disgusting.
Mm.
And we went to
Dang.
the a couple weeks later, we went in with my neurologist and she said, they said originally it was just a seizure. And I was like, but it felt so much more than that. And
Mhm.
how come I still feel days later like drunk?
Oh,
And they were
yeah.
like, oh, it's just the trauma from the accident. It's just the trauma. And then they did my levels, and my levels were out of control. They were like, I think the therapeutic for the medication that I'm on is supposed to be like, I don't know, but something like a 15 or like a
Yeah, it does
5
all that
between
matters is when you
7
look
and
at the
12.
chart and see where you fall in, but, like, remembering the numbers, I feel like is way too hard.
It is, but for so long I had the numbers memorized because it was like, but after
Yeah.
this, because I was like on a mission, but it's supposed to be really low, and it was like in the 30s.
Mm.
So I
So
basically could have just died, like, and it would have been, I guess. I mean, because I have so many advocates, they would have said it's not an overdose, like this was from medication, but
mhm.
um and
So what was the doctor's advice of how to
oh
avoid?
yeah,
I
just
guess like I'm just so curious because
let's
we
talk.
now we've
Yeah.
did the so did the sorry, no, my brain is like exploding with questions.
Oh, I'm just trying. It's so hard to talk about this. And
I know. I know I'm asking you to talk about something really
no,
tough.
I want to. I would not. I'm so glad that I have the opportunity to do this, but it's so the doctor at the time, it was not a good situation. Looking back, I
Mm,
realized they were not, you know,
the
I
right
am very
provider.
lucky to have the older nurse practitioner that was with them before this was great, but she had left, and just they were very neglectful, especially after this. And I
Mm,
don't know if it was guilt on their end, and they didn't want to do an EEG, which was really weird.
that's really weird.
Really weird. And it was so weird. And my mom was like, she needs to get an EEG. But I was just like listening to them. They're like,
Mm.
oh no, she's fine. She doesn't need an EEG. Also, day of the accident, they did a PET scan. They didn't do an MRI. So at the time, they didn't even know. They said I didn't have a concussion or brain damage or trauma. I actually did. They found out a year later that I have trauma in my brain, that I have like a little crack or whatever. I
Oh
don't.
my
So yeah,
God.
it's fine. But
It's not fine. And so anyone listening and feels like they resonate with this story, I just recommend listening to the medical gaslighting episode that just came out because you were completely medically gaslit
yeah,
like from the
100%,
beginning of this, and it's so awful and I'm
100%,
so sorry. Um and that's I can't even wrap my head around it. Like
100%.
mhm.
I feel like this is a whole other day that we could go on and on about you know what to do. I mean, what happened there, right? But
Yeah.
let's flash forward to flash forward, is that the right flash
I think
forward?
so. My
Yeah,
I double
flash
checked in
forward.
my brain and it said
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
I don't know.
Fast forward.
Oh, there it is. Oh, see, two epileptic brains working together.
Fast forward to okay, fast forward to like almost a year later.
Mhm.
Finally get in with a new doctor. I have like a whole team now at a place. Can I say the place or no?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm
Yeah.
with NYU, and I have like an entire team, and they're just wonderful. And
Awesome.
now I meet with a doctor. It's just like almost way too much. It's like, okay, with the levels, do we really need to get them? I think I'm okay. But basically, we found out so much in this time. The reason why we're not hearing about medication toxicity is because generic drugs, which most people who are on anticonvulsants are on generic drugs,
Mhm.
and
Yeah,
they're
a lot of
exempt.
them are, yeah.
Yeah, they're exempt to litigation. So if you die or if you fall from an accident, you can't sue the drug company. You can do nothing really.
You mean if it's a generic drug, you cannot take
Hmm.
action.
You
Okay.
can't take action at all. So
Okay.
no one's really writing. There's no outlet. No one's suing them, and so there's no stories. We're not hearing about them.
Sure.
So we contacted um, a lawyer here. My dad. I'm fortunate to have like some advocates at home,
Yeah.
and they knew some people here, and so we contacted somebody, and a lawyer, and he said, he knows a lot of people who are in this situation. A child who is brain dead um, from medication toxicity,
Oh
completely
my
gaslit by the
gosh.
doctors, but there's nothing they can do because they can't sue the drug company. So, why these are happening more and more since the pandemic, like we said, is that um, first of all, these manufacturers, they're making them more and more. And what happens is generic drugs, they don't have to pass. I don't know what it is like, but as many tests as order in like the brand
Oh,
medication. So
sure.
that's one thing. But
Okay.
so
That's terrifying.
yeah, it's pretty
Okay.
terrifying. But so unless you go to the doctor and you meet all of these, and you're a neurologist, like you meet all of these qualifications that you can only take brand name drugs, like
Yeah.
even if they put you on the brand, but you can only, but you can only take, am I making sense?
Yeah, it's like you have to go through I think I've heard of this where you have to go through a process with your doctor to make sure that like insurance will cover the non-generic version
Well,
of the drug, right?
there's no.
Oh, no, I still got it wrong. Okay.
Oh, no, it's fine. There's just so much more. It's more like, okay, this person is really sensitive to other sort of drugs. I only want them to be on brand name drugs because she's so sensitive or they're so sensitive.
Okay.
In case your doctor checks off the box that where this patient meets all the qualifications and she can only they can only take brand name drugs, then the pharmacy is most likely going to give you a generic, right? I mean, here in New York City, I know that's what they do. Just
Right. Yeah, yeah.
so,
Well, and that's insurance.
of
Has
course,
insurance all over it.
of
Yeah, yeah.
course,
Right. Most
insurance.
places, yeah.
I didn't. We're allowed to say that.
Insurance. Ugh, that cursed word.
Okay, so anyway, but what happens with these generic drugs? So like all these manufacturers making them throughout the world, right? Factory A might have a little filler, tiny, tiny little chemical that is different than factory B. And they're
Sure.
seemingly inconsequential, but like one little chemical just doesn't work with that person's body, even though it's so tiny and it can
Mhm.
make your levels shoot up.
So is
And
that
so
what they think happened to you?
I think that my levels were high to begin with. And looking back when I got my records,
Mhm.
and they do think they, of course, like I looked at my records from my the pharmacies as well, and yes, they were different every month. They were from a different manufacturer every month,
Oh, okay.
but they were also higher than like the normal. They were like right my level numbers. Am I
Mhm.
making sense? Am
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
clear
Yeah.
for the viewers? Okay.
Yeah, no,
Um,
totally.
all of these manufacturers, they're changing them every month. And it's like
Mhm.
tiny, tiny little chemical. But it's fine. They don't see that. It's not, yeah, of course it's not their fault. And so even after my doctor, um, my new
Mm,
doctor now, who is like phenomenal. He's the best neurologist ever.
it's
Um,
awesome.
I know, I know.
It's huge. Yeah.
And now I'm with a woman. He's like, I have sort of this team, like I told you, and I'm
Yeah.
just like, it feels so good to have people who actually care about you and who
Yeah.
validate that you're like, wow, yeah, these are real problems.
Mhm. Okay, so your doctor now, you're saying is wonderful and you feel so lucky to be under their care and because you've got a great team. What do they do to ensure what do you guys do together? That's the better
Yeah,
question to ensure you don't
yeah,
experience that again.
yeah. It was a very long battle, but my doctor has checked all the boxes, and I only take brand name for the one drug that
Mhm.
has, yeah, I take brand name drugs for the one drug that caused me
For your yeah,
that is
for that.
switched so often.
Okay.
There's ways you can too look at the bottles to see, is this being switched a lot on, on your manufacturer. You just look at the bottle where it says manufacturer and you see, it's just important to look every time you get your medication and you see like, oh, this manufacturer didn't make it last month. So,
So that's on the bottle. You can just look at
yeah.
who's manufacturing it
Mhm.
on the bottle. Okay, this is where I am
And
so
if you
ignorant and
need
I'm
help
really
with
happy
that,
to learn this.
yes,
So,
that's so
um,
important.
yeah.
And so with a lot of advocating, my team was able to get me on the only the brand. However, it was, even with my insurance, it was a couple grand.
Mm.
Um, it was crazy. And then through after months of dealing with that, they were able to do the override, but we still need to do the override like every 6 months. It's a
Oh,
lot. So
wow.
sometimes, you remember this summer when I didn't have any medication?
Yeah, I do. That
And
was
fortunately,
yeah.
the Epilepsy Foundation was wonderful, and I contacted the manufacturer, and my doctors were able to again advocate for me. So I think the most important thing is in these situations for medication toxicity is just to know what you're taking. So always look at the bottle and see that it is the same manufacturer. That is, if you can't get on the brand, which you're most likely not going to, unless
I
you have
know.
some sort of issue, right?
Yeah.
And there's no, yeah. So look
Just the
at,
way the system's set up.
yeah,
Right.
and that's fine.
Yeah.
It's not fine. Why am I saying
It's
it's
not no, you're right. It's
fine?
not fine, but it's
Well, I
like,
don't want
okay,
to be an alarmist.
this
Yeah.
is the system we've got. We're going to work with what we've got. And that's what you're teaching us how to do, which I'm so
Yes.
appreciative. So like let's say I get like I pick up my new prescription
Okay.
and I notice it's a different manufacturer. What do I do then?
Right. The pharmacy's not going to do anything, but you
Okay.
can call your doctor
Mhm.
and you can tell them, um, this is what's going on. I want the same manufacturer.
Okay.
And the next time you're at the doctor's office, you can also, even if they, that's why it's so important to have a doctor that you trust and you can tell, your deepest, darkest secrets. I mean, you don't have
Yeah.
to be in love with your doctor, but you know what I mean?
It can happen.
Yeah.
Um um
um, but yeah, and you could call them and say, I want only this manufacturer each time. And they will write that on there for you.
okay. And that seems like it's a little bit easier
Hmm.
to get than
They can
the
do that. Yeah.
actual brand. Okay. Okay. And then like I feel like is that something again if we just keep coming back to like it really depends on how much your doctor is willing to listen to you and take what you say
Yeah.
seriously is because
Yeah.
like they're the ones with the power, right? Like if you're to reach out to them and say I just want to continue this manufacturer, they could say no, and then you're like okay,
Yeah.
I guess it's time to find a new doctor.
I think that's where it starts. It's just, first step is have a doctor. It's so much easier said than done, right? Like,
It is. It's a lot of work. And that's
it's
kind
so
of
much
what's,
work.
well, and that's what's like, to be completely honest, that's what stopped me from moving forward with looking into these steps because I'm like, oh my God, like having epilepsy is exhausting enough. Epilepsy
So
medications
tiring.
are exhausting enough. And then it's like, you're constantly advocating in every aspect of your life. And then all of a sudden it's like one more piece. And you know what I mean? And it's just one of those things where like, I have dragged my feet on this because of that. But after hearing this and hearing how, like, it's, I don't want to say simple, but there are simple steps in the sense
Yeah.
where it's like you look at the manufacturer, you figure it out, you reach out to your doctor, and like now it doesn't sound as daunting. And so I really appreciate you taking the time to explain this to me and to everyone else who's listening because, like, I feel like now I can do it. You know, I can actually take more of an active role to make sure that I'm not putting myself at risk for medication toxicity.
I'm going to cry
Oh,
because that makes me feel so good because, yeah, I
yeah,
think
this is
just
huge.
to know that feeling, right? You know, when your levels are high, that feeling of your levels being high, that seizure like auras and crazy
Yeah.
drunkenness. If
Yes.
you know that feeling, that's the first, just like really know your body, feel comfortable
Yeah.
with your doctor. If you don't have that, I mean, and if you can't get that team, then just really, really, even if you have a doctor you're comfortable with, you just really have to advocate for yourself and find
Mhm.
people that can advocate for you because there's sometimes, especially with epilepsy, you're not going to have a voice.
Yeah. That is so true. And I think that's a really important thing to point out is just like how your sister showed up for you in the ER,
Yeah.
you know? And you might not be near family and you might need a friend that's
Yeah.
that person, but just having someone like who's informed, who knows what's going on, who like now I'm going to, start including like those people in my life and telling them about the manufacturing thing and being like, "Hey, this is how we avoid medication toxicity because now we
Yeah.
have more armor to keep us safe."
Yeah.
Which you provided after a harrowing fucking incident that I wish had never happened to you. Um, but I do want to ask, just because I know that's not the end of your story with what happened. I mean, it took you years of dental surgery and recovery, and I can't imagine still having that like in your life, because
Yeah.
nothing, even though it happened in 2022, it's not like that, like it happened and now it goes away. Even
No,
when things are fixed, it's still there. And it's
still there.
still, yeah,
And it still hurts.
yeah.
And really, I'm actually going through today. I'm going to, so funny. After this, I'm going to the doctor, my neurologist, and we're doing a
Oh,
medication change this week. We're increasing a dose
oh,
because I
wow.
haven't been feeling that great.
Okay.
And
Be careful. Those are, medication increases are always,
it's so scary, right? And
they're, well, yeah, they're just tough. It's tough for your
oh,
brain to adjust. It's like I always
so tough.
prepare like a weekend of nothingness
Yeah.
before a medication change. Yeah.
And um the PTSD from the accident,
Mhm.
it's so hard. I mean, the noises and
Oh,
it's really hard to leave. And it's been really difficult starting the new year, and like I had to go to a store yesterday, and it was really hard, and just people looking, and you're like, I don't know, just little
yeah.
things. I don't like to use the word trigger. I think it's really overused, and um
It's a good word that got abused. Yep.
yeah, yeah, sometimes it's, yeah, but
Yeah,
yeah,
like
there
the word
you're
authentic. It's just been abused, so you can't use it
so
anymore.
abused. But it's just like, yeah, it's been really, really difficult with that.
Yeah.
And just also, like, I don't know, it's weird to see you in a different, even though like everyone's like, "Oh, you look so great," and stuff. It's weird to see your face different. Like, it's still uneven.
Yeah.
I know that that's nothing, right? But to me, it still feels strange, and it's still this, every time I look at it, it's just like the pain, like the physical pain
Yeah.
and all the nerve damage. I'm like, "Oh, that's annoying." But,
That's annoying, to
that's
put it
just annoying.
mildly.
Right. But I think just the one part of this is just too, when you go to the doctor, back to the medication, even if they're like, "We don't need your levels checked," just get them checked.
Yes.
Just get your, wherever you go to get your blood work, have your prescription and go and do it. If you feel
Mhm.
sick, like if you're, don't, just do it.
Another reason I'm so excited to have you on, Mare, is because
Oh,
I think you are the first actor I've had on. I'm almost positive.
stop.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And so I was like, this is so cool. Like I've got an actor
Oh,
on. And I'd just love for you to share like what you've done, what you're doing, and obviously the Power Princess Party, which is so cool. And the link is in this episode. So go check it out. Go follow and go download the app. But I'll let you explain all of that because
oh,
I just love it so much.
that
And
is,
I want a Power Princess Party. So
dude, yes, I can
yes.
do one. We can give you one.
Okay.
Hey, yeah.
Okay, so tell us all about it.
Um, sure. Okay, well, I'm an actor. I've been acting. I went to school for theater and moved here in 2009, New York, and did a lot of live theater and some horror films, and I do a lot of
Oh yeah, I've seen
comedy.
your film reel. You should check out Mare's film reel because your comedy work is. I'm not a horror
Oh, you're
person.
so
Like
sweet.
your comedy is what I was like. This girl is fucking hilarious. Like it's very
Aw.
good. Yes. Hmm.
I think you're really funny, actually.
Well, you're like the one person in the world, so thank you.
Um, but so when the city closed down and I started doing I moved home for a bit,
Hmm.
Pennsylvania, and me and my friends started doing virtual princess parties, Anna and Elsa.
Oh,
And
love it.
we were like, we needed to do other princesses, but I said, I don't feel comfortable with this damsel in distress mindset. So we
Hmm.
changed things just a bit, not to the extent where like everything's different. I mean, we still, Ariel just doesn't, there's just some switches. I'm not going to give
Well,
it away.
yeah, no,
But
totally.
you
Like
know,
and like because I think I think it's talked about on the website and you've talked about it to me how it's a very empowering
oh, a
princess
lot of empowering
experience.
children.
And yes, and I love that. I love that,
Thank
especially because it
you.
ties into, your child advocacy work, but it's also like, let's not, I love it. Let's
Thank you.
ditch the damsel in distress
Oh, bye
and let's
bye.
show some power women who just happen to be
Oh,
princesses.
yes.
Like,
Exactly.
amazing. Yes.
So we got to sing and act and dance and empower kids along the way and storytell and like write our own. It's amazing. And then when the city opened up, we just started trying to do them in person, and I just kept trying. And she went on with her life. And now then last year, it would be almost a year, I created with one of my friends, Alan, who edited. It's called Alice Through the Park, and my friend Jamie was the video editor. And it's Alice in Wonderland. And there they say, several neurologists say that Lewis Carroll had epilepsy. And yeah, and that the Wonderland was a seizure, and that he wrote several of his. And if you read and look at some of the original illustrations, it kind of looks like very seizure-y. And like sometimes Alice feels like she's outside and inside of her body. Don't quote me on that, but if you
Yeah.
read it, it'll, yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Just
no.
like
I had just heard that it was like about a drug trip. I had never heard
that's
anything.
what I heard in college.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then later,
Okay. I can't wait to do. I'm gonna rabbit hole this later.
rabbit hole it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's
Okay.
just all those theater professors made it into a drug
I
thing.
love it. I love
Yeah.
it.
Okay, so then it's the storytelling app, and it's Alice through Central Park, and she it's me, by the way. Filmed in a green
but
screen.
when you're talking about a character, you have to use third person, so it's her.
Yeah.
Right.
I
Right.
play Alice, is what I'm saying.
Right. No, I know. But
You
like
know.
whenever I see actors talking about
Yeah.
their movie, they're like, well, my character, she
Oh
does
yeah.
this and blah blah blah.
That's
So
what
I
I
was
did.
just
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you. So Alice is through the park, and she's talking about all the seasons. And so it's a storytelling app for kids.
That's
And
awesome.
we are actually adding on pretty soon, which is exciting.
Yeah.
To that, adding more content to that. And so you can download it on the Apple Store. And then during this whole, I started actually filming it before the accident, and then finished it. We filmed all of it before, but finished it after, like the editing process, all of that.
Wow. Yeah.
After. So with child advocacy, I just realized, especially after the accident, I was like, oh my gosh, there's so many children that just don't have voices. And so I got
Mhm.
certified last year, and then I just continued on with my master's, and then I'll have my master's at the end of the year.
That's
And
so
so
awesome.
I really want to just continue. There's so much I want to do with it, so I don't know yet. I'm not gonna,
Yeah. Well,
love
I
to do
love that
storytelling.
you're a creative person in this
Oh,
field because I feel like that's what whenever you put a creative brain in a non-creative field, well, I shouldn't say that. I don't know anything about child advocacy. Maybe it's very
No,
creative.
you're
But
so
like,
right. Like,
I think I think the perspective already that you're bringing, right, with your app of Alice to the Park and with your Empowering Princess Party is already a child advocacy platform without being like, we're a child advocacy. It's like very fun, engaging, and I love
yeah.
it. And I'm so excited to see what you do next.
Oh, I love you.
Oh, I love you.
You're just so-
And now I'm going to ask you three questions that
Oh, no.
have nothing to do with what we've been talking about.
Okay.
Okay. Number 1, easy one. What's your favorite color?
Pink.
Pink. Yeah, that makes sense. You're a very bright, wonderful person. So makes complete sense. Number 2, if you had like more free time, like, just unlimited time.
Yeah.
What would you do with it?
Either, can I do 2?
Of course.
Only have one.
There's no rules.
Okay, I would go to the movies by myself.
Oh, good call.
I love going to the movies by myself.
That's a good one.
And just like eat Sour Patch Kids, but eating them before my accident, like, because I can't really do that anymore.
Oh.
And just like stuck on them. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
And that's okay. Or that's totally fine, please. Or I would lay down and watch Lifetime murder mysteries or like Law and Order SVU just all day.
Yes.
And turn off my phone and just like do that.
Well, girl, you're doing a medication switch, so you might be doing that this
I
know. So gear up. Mm-hmm.
Bless.
Okay, last question is,
Okay.
what does it mean to you to be a friend?
Oh. Okay. I think it means to be a friend is to be loyal, a good listener.
Yeah.
A support system, understanding, and honest, but not to the point where it's like brutally honest, because I think that can be really
Yeah, like understanding the line of
Yeah.
of you being honest with someone, but also not like cruelly
like if
honest.
someone says, I dyed my hair, do you love it? But you don't really love it, like, but you know that they love it and it makes
Yeah.
them happy, then like,
And that's what matters.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Totally. Oh, I love that. That's so true. I love that example too.
Thanks.
Especially because like with hair dye, like that's not something you can change right away, right?
No,
if they walk out and they're like, what about this outfit? And you're like, okay, it doesn't flatter this part of you. Do you care? How do you feel in this outfit? You have to do like a whole analysis. Like,
No.
can't just be like yes or no. Yeah.
But
totally.
if you're out and you have something in your nose or like, oh, gross, and you're in your teeth and no one says anything, that, like, come on.
Not a true friend.
Not a true
friend. Mara, thank you so much for doing this podcast. Thank you so much for just sharing your story and reliving it, which I know is not easy, but I feel empowered right now to like go check I'm going to go do it right now. I'm going to go check manufacturer and start keeping on this. So thank you so much. I mean, you could say I feel like an empowered princess, but
oh my gosh. Seriously, I would love to do a princess party for you.
Oh, we're going to make this happen.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you. And is it too soon to say I love you? Oh, I already said I love you.
Oh yeah. I love you too, honey.